Caitlin Clark is the only woman in basketball to ever sign with Wilson Basketball, and she's the only athlete since Michael Jordan to do so.
If we're comparing a Caitlin Clark signature shoe release to anybody not named Michael Jordan, anybody not named LeBron James, you're being extremely disingenuous.
A storm is brewing in the world of sports, a corporate earthquake that nobody saw coming. For decades, one name has been synonymous with basketball greatness, with iconic shoes and with fearless marketing. That name is Nike. But now, a shocking turn of events has this $200 billion behemoth on the ropes, scrambling to understand how they lost control of the narrative. The catalyst for this downfall wasn't a failed product or a corporate scandal. It was a single athlete, a generational talent they believed they had locked down.
When you strip away the noise and the bright lights, it's just the game you loved as a kid.
This is a story of how Nike's moment of fear created a golden opportunity for an unlikely rival. A story that culminates in one of the most flawless and devastating advertisements in recent sport history. This is the marketing war for the soul of Caitlin Clark. If you're fascinated by the business battles and marketing wars behind your favorite athletes, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss what we're breaking down. Let's rewind the situation at Nike just a few years ago. The landscape was grim. The company had lost a staggering $100 billion in market value since 2021. Their stock was in free fall. Their reputation was taking hit after hit, and the pressure from investors was becoming unbearable. This turmoil led to the ultimate consequence. The CEO was forced to resign, while their rivals at Adidas were managing to find success even after the very public breakup with Ye. Formerly Kanye West, Nike seemed stuck, unable to find a new direction. Financial analysts predicted a devastating 11.5% drop in sales, the worst decline since the peak of the pandemic.
Comparing a Caitlin Clark signature shoe release to anybody not named Michael Jordan, anybody not named LeBron James, you're being extremely disingenuous. Extremely disingenuous. We can't compare abnormality to normal behaviors. We can't compare the extreme case, the rarest of the rare case, to an average Joe Schmo walking down the street singing do-a-dee-dee-dee-dum-dee-dee-do. We can't be doing that. We only compare Clark to Jordan, Clark to James, Clark to Tiger, Clark to Gretzky, Clark to Ali.
The new CEO, Matthew Friend, stepped in and promised a dramatic comeback. But behind the scenes, analysts were brutal in their assessment. The problem wasn't a lack of effort. It was years of what they called subpar planning. Nike needed a miracle. They needed a brand new blockbuster product line, a venture that could be worth billions. And everyone knew that kind of magic takes years to build. Little did they know, their miracle was already dominating college basketball. Enter Caitlin Clark. To call her a basketball star is a massive understatement. She was a cultural tsunami, a force that recalibrated the very economy of attention surrounding women's sports. Her rise was built on a foundation of audacious, logo three-pointers and breathtaking court vision, but it transcended statistics to become a national event. The numbers, however, are staggering. She didn't just break records, she obliterated them, becoming the all-time leading scorer in NCAA Division I history, a title held by both men and women. This wasn't a slow burn. It was a supernova. Social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram became her highlight reel distributors, where her deep threes and no-look passes went viral weekly, captivating an audience that extended far beyond traditional basketball fans. Her games became appointment viewing, with viewership numbers for her NCAA championship run smashing previous records, proving her ability to draw a mainstream audience.
But today was the Nike quarterly call, putting to rest any rumors that A, this wasn't a done deal, and B, there are renegotiations at the table. Something that this did clear up as well, it's looking like Caitlin Clark's shoe is coming in 2020.
Every major brand in the sport saw the potential, recognizing she wasn't just selling sneakers, but symbolizing a seismic shift. Stephen Curry's label saw a kindred spirit in a sharpshooter who changed the game. Under Armour looked for a new flagship athlete, and Adidas saw a chance to steal a march on their rivals. It was the most hotly contested athlete signing in recent memory, a high-stakes poker game where the prize was the face of the next generation. And in what seemed like a masterstroke, Nike won. Clark chose the swoosh, the brand that had helped shape her image during her college years, a seemingly natural progression. It was perceived as a safe bet, a long-term partnership with a company that knew how to build legends like Michael Jordan and LeBron James. The anticipation for a Caitlin Clark signature shoe was immediate and electric. Fans and investors alike waited for the announcement, believing it would be the catalyst for Nike's triumphant return, a symbol that they still had their finger on the pulse.
This game reminds me a lot of you. Like, it's not really about me. And she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point. And also, like, she's good at that. Like, she understands her privilege and like, pushes her over the top in a sense.
But when the announcement came, it wasn't what anyone expected. In fact, it sent shockwaves of confusion through the entire industry, leaving everyone to wonder what had gone wrong inside the hallowed halls of the world's most powerful sportswear giant. Instead of a swift, powerful launch to capitalize on her white-hot popularity, Nike delivered a head-scratching delay that felt like a corporate self-goal. The word came down that a Caitlin Clark signature shoe wouldn't be ready until 2026, or maybe even 2027. A wait of 2 to 3 years. In the fast-paced world of sports marketing, where trends change in an instant, this was an eternity. It was a decision that signaled not just caution, but a profound disconnect from the market they were trying to capture. The message it sent was devastating. Despite all her record-breaking achievements and cultural impact, Clark wasn't a priority worthy of expedited resources.
It seems like she's probably going to make more money overseas in EuroLeague than she did during this WNBA season. The commissioner told her that she could make $700.
To understand how bizarre this decision was, you only have to look at Nike's own history, a playbook they seemingly forgot. Back in 2003, they were so desperate to sign a young LeBron James that they started designing his sneakers before the ink was even dry on his contract, treating him as a once-in-a-lifetime asset from day one. They operated under a covert code name, Air Zoom Generation, and managed to get them on his feet for his very first NBA game. A stunning feat of logistical and creative prowess. From the initial concept of the hardcourt, the entire process took just 3 months. That was the old Nike. The Nike that moved with speed, ambition, and relentless focus. The company that built its empire on recognizing and aggressively backing generational talent. The current Nike, it seemed, was a different beast entirely, bogged down by bureaucratic layers and risk-averse committees. This delay wasn't just a scheduling conflict. It was a glaring red flag. The first undeniable sign of a deep-rooted corporate paralysis, an inability to act decisively even when presented with a golden opportunity. And while Nike was stalling, underestimating the hunger of Clark's fan base, another player was about to enter the game and change the rules entirely, seeing the wide-open gap Nike had left undefended. The controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark wasn't limited to business decisions. As her fame grew, so did the complex and often contentious narratives around her, placing her at the center of a cultural conversation she never explicitly asked for. Aya Wilson, the established superstar of the WNBA, a reigning champion, and a Nike athlete herself, made headlines with comments that ignited a firestorm of debate across sports talk shows and social media platforms. In interviews, Wilson spoke about Clark and other white athletes in a way that challenged the media's narrative, suggesting that the success of players like Clark and Paige Buchers was amplified by what she termed privilege. She stated that Clark understood how her privilege had gotten her to that point, and that this understanding, combined with her skill, is what pushed her over the top. These comments, while reflecting a broader, ongoing discussion about race and representation in sports coverage, created a palpable friction. It fostered a sense of a league divided between established veterans and a revolutionary rookie, a narrative that often overshadowed the incredible talent across the entire WNBA. This narrative reached a boiling point with what many saw as the ultimate snub. Caitlin Clark was conspicuously left off the roster for the U.S. Olympic basketball team heading to Paris. The official justification from the selection committee was that she simply hadn't earned it yet and needed more time to develop chemistry with the team. But history completely dismantled that argument, making it appear hollow and politically motivated. Christian Lettner made the legendary 1992 Dream Team as a college player without playing a single minute in the NBA. Diana Taurasi made the 2004 Olympic squad with college statistics nearly identical to Clark's. The exclusion felt targeted to many fans and analysts, and it became a massive talking point, questioning whether on-court performance or off-court dynamics were the true criteria. But Clark did what great athletes do. She let her game do the talking, channeling the scrutiny into fuel for one of the most remarkable rookie seasons the sport had ever witnessed. Her rookie season in the WNBA wasn't just good. It was a historic domination that silenced every critic and validated every bit of hype. She finished as a top rookie in almost every major statistical category, but more impressively, she ranked near the very top of the entire league in points and assists, a rarity for any first-year player. She was named to the first-team All-WNBA, a testament to her immediate status as one of the 5 best players in the world, and finished 4th in the MVP voting, edged out only by seasoned veterans. More importantly, she was the engine behind an unprecedented ratings explosion that finally delivered the commercial breakthrough the league had been seeking for decades. Her games averaged over 1 million viewers, more than triple the league's normal audience, and her regular season debut was the most watched WNBA game in 23 years. Her playoff debut sold more tickets than all other WNBA games combined, a staggering statistic that highlighted her unique drawing power. Teams hosting her, like the Washington Mystics, had to move their games to larger, NBA-sized arenas to accommodate the overwhelming demand, turning her road games into must-see events. Everywhere she played, from Connecticut to Las Vegas, she shattered attendance records, often playing in front of sold-out crowds of 20,000 screaming fans. It was becoming undeniably clear that leaving her off the Olympic team was a catastrophic miscalculation, a decision that now seemed based on everything except her tangible impact on the court. Even members of Team USA eventually began to admit it was a mistake, with the discourse becoming so loud it threatened to overshadow the games themselves. But through all of this, as her stock skyrocketed, Nike remained strangely silent. They had their biggest star in women's basketball, a player driving this much attention and economic activity, and they seemed paralyzed, unsure of how to market her in the midst of the intense political and social debates swirling around her. This hesitation created a vacuum, a silent screen where her story was waiting to be told. And into that vacuum stepped an unlikely storyteller. Wilson, known primarily for making the official basketball of the NBA, may have moved so brilliant and perfectly timed it would redefine the marketing game. They signed Caitlin Clark to a landmark deal, making her the first woman ever to have a signature basketball with the company, a distinction that placed her in a category with Michael Jordan, the only other athlete to have such a profound collaboration with the brand. But the real story wasn't the deal itself. It was a campaign they built around it, a narrative masterpiece that stood in stark contrast to the silence from Beaverton. While Nike was frozen, Wilson was crafting a compelling story. They released an advertisement that was less a commercial and more a piece of art, a short film that connected directly to the heart of every basketball fan. It opened with a simple, powerful voiceover that cut through the noise. When you strip away the noise and the bright lights, it's just a game you loved as a kid. The ad was emotionally compelling, authentic, and focused purely on the raw passion for basketball. The sound of ball bouncing, the swish of the net, the sheer joy of the game. It was a direct repudiation of the controversy and debates, offering a sanctuary of pure sport. It was everything Nike's marketing used to be: confident, athlete-centric, and emotionally resonant. Wilson's team had done their homework, studying Clark's personality, her Midwestern roots, her style, her essence, and they channeled it into a product and a message that felt genuinely and uniquely hers. The tagline was simple, powerful, and impossible to forget: Caitlin, always basketball. It was easy, strong, and for Nike, it was an absolute disaster, a case study in how a competitor can swoop in and own a narrative when a giant hesitates, proving that in the battle for cultural relevance, speed and authenticity will almost always defeat caution and silence. The ripple effect was immediate and profound, creating a shockwave that traveled from social media feeds directly to the boardrooms of every major sports brand. Wilson's ad didn't just gain views. It captured the cultural zeitgeist, amassing millions of views and shares almost overnight as fans and casual observers alike felt compelled to share this refreshing piece of content. It wasn't just a commercial. It was a feeling, a nostalgic punch to the gut that reminded people why they fell in love with basketball in the first place. Marketing experts and industry insiders were quick to praise it as one of the best basketball commercials in a generation, dissecting its brilliance on podcasts and in trade publications. They pointed to its masterful lack of corporate polish, its deliberate choice to feel unvarnished and genuine, as if it were filmed in the sacred space of an empty gym where only the game matters. The campaign was celebrated as being motivated only by a pure, unadulterated love for the game, a stark and powerful contrast to the often cynical, data-driven world of modern sports marketing. The contrast with Nike's position was excruciatingly obvious and became a central topic of discussion. Nike, the global footwear giant worth hundreds of billions, was being strategically outmaneuvered on its own turf by a company using basketballs, the fundamental tool of the sport, to communicate a powerful, human message that Nike, for all its resources, seemed too scared to touch. The irony was both cruel and inescapable, a narrative twist that seemed almost fictional. Nike's entire empire, its very mythology, was built on the backs of fearless cultural icons like Michael Jordan, who challenged the status quo, Tiger Woods, who shattered racial barriers in golf, and LeBron James, who used his platform for social activism. These were athletes who did more than win games. They transformed society and reshaped global culture. Caitlin Clark clearly possessed that same spark, that same transcendent ability to captivate a nation and drive an economic engine. Yet Nike, mired in internal politics and a palpable fear of public backlash in a hypersensitive climate, was failing to see the forest for the trees. They were treating a cultural phenomenon as a logistical problem. Wilson, however, saw the opportunity with perfect clarity. They understood that in an era of overwhelming digital noise, authenticity is the most valuable currency. They weren't just selling a basketball with Clark's name etched on it. They were building a legacy brand association based on sincerity and artistic storytelling. Their campaign radiated a confidence and a clear-eyed vision that Nike had seemingly lost, celebrating athletic excellence without getting bogged down in the exhausting churn of social media noise and divisive commentary. The most terrifying part for Nike wasn't just that the ad was successful, it was that Wilson's execution was perfect. It wasn't just great, it was a flawless encapsulation of everything Caitlin Clark represented to the millions who adored her: her relentless determination, her pure, uncomplicated love for competition, and her profound, almost symbiotic connection with the fans who loved her not for controversy, but simply for the beautiful game she played. Where Nike saw risk and complication, Wilson saw a simple story of passion and saw a wide-open lane to the heart of the basketball world. They didn't just run a play. They changed the entire game, proving that the most powerful marketing doesn't always shout the loudest. Sometimes, it just reminds you of the sound of ball bouncing in an empty gym and lets that pure emotion do all the talking. This single campaign did more than sell a product. It positioned Wilson as a true guardian of the sport's soul, a branding coup that will be studied for years to come, and one that has left Nike scrambling to explain how they lost a narrative around their most valuable new asset. So, what does this all mean for the future? This is more than just a single marketing campaign winning out. This is a potential paradigm shift in how sports stars are branded. Wilson has demonstrated that in an era of constant controversy and noise, authenticity and a pure focus on the sport can be the most powerful message of all. They have formed a deep, lasting bond with generational athlete, a relationship that could define their brand for decades. Meanwhile, Nike is left with a 3-year delay instead of a 3-month turnaround, a $28 million asset they seem afraid to use, and a boardroom likely filled with panic. The nightmare for Nike isn't on the horizon, it's already here. Wilson didn't just release a new product. They exposed a fatal weakness in a giant and showed every other brand how to seize the moment. The basketball world is watching, and the lesson is clear. You can either rise to the occasion with courage and vision, or you can fall behind, paralyzed by fear. If you found this deep dive into the business behind the game as fascinating as I did, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Nike can recover from this? Or has Wilson permanently changed the game? And don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from the world of sports and business. Thanks for watching.